Hi everyone, good evening. Welcome to our T180 gathering for this June. So I am privileged to share with you some of the insights and akong na-learn aning nga topic entitled Ultimate Authority. So, ang ako lang hangyo sa tanan is to participate kay important ang inyong participation, guys. Wait. Okay. So, nakoy question, I'm going to send it sa ato ang chat. So, this is a poll, so everyone can see also. Wait lang ha, let me just share my screen na lang para makita na nato ang first question. Rin ako makita ng chat box. Sorry, wait lang. Okay, so this is the link. The first question is, whose authority are you under? So, kinsa man ang imong gina-recognize na people you submit to, people who is in charge, who's in authority over you. So, please click the link nga nasa atong chat box and then, kana siya. Type in your answers. If maglisod magsulod, pwede po din nyo, sige lang, i-try na ninyo guys, para makita na to. So every time, you can put as many as you can, ha? So different people in authority nga you recognize. So we see here, God, parents, leaders, church, elder, government, Lani, o di ba naging name? Lani. Okay, so keep them coming. So ang pinaka-trending karon sa ato ang mga input is parents and God. No? Parents, God, leaders, ano na duha ka government. Okay. So kana siya. Thank you so much. Let us print screen and put this in our slide. Okay. So mo ni siya no based di ba galihok, sorry kayo. Based sa ato ang poll kaganina, mo ni siya ang ato ang mga insights nga nakita na who you recognize as people in authority. So I think wala jud mo contest ani no na this saying na we are to obey authority. Do you agree with me? So when we say na we are to obey them, we must recognize kinsa jud who we are, who's in charge, who's in authority. So first and foremost, the person in authority is God. So can I ask someone to read 1 Samuel 15 and also another person to read John 14:23 and then James 1:22. Can I ask the men who are here tonight to read the verse aloud?
Muted, and Samuel
Unmute,
muted
guys.
it. No, unmuted it. No.
Samuel
said, as the
Lord has great delight
in burnt
offerings
and
sacrifices.
as in obeying the voice of the Lord. Behold, to obey is
better than
sacrifice.
sacrifice.
and
To
listen than the fat of rams.
Okay, sorry kayo. Ang mga lalaki nga mag-volunteer, kinsay magbasa, okay? So, hindi ako nalang mag-volunteer. So, can I ask Vinci to read John? Sorry, dili siya to. Sabayang pagbigkas akong pasabot. Anyways, Vinci, and then, kuan dayon mag-read sa James, Nate.
John 14:23. Jesus replied, "Anyone who loves me will obey my."
Thank you.
James 1:22. Do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves.
do what it says.
Yes, so the Bible is clear no na God is our ultimate authority and we should obey him, and it brings him joy if we obey him, not merely listen, but do what he says. So God ultimately establishes every authority. So kani po na-appoint another verse na kanang to support this no in Romans 13:1. Can I ask Maverick to read this?
Let everyone be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God. Romans
Yeah.
13:1.
Thank you so much. So kani all authorities that exist kay gi-establish ni siya ni God. So what are some of the God established authorities over us? So who are some of them? So na-mention natin ninyo no, government leaders, teachers, and for those na I-work, ilang mga boss or kinsa ang leader. And there's also verses ani. So I'll ask ladies, Cheska and Mia. Cheska sa Hebrews, Mia sa 1 Peter.
Oh, which Cheska? Me?
Oh, hi Ches. Naday Cheska Tan here.
Okay. Hi.
Pwede ra, Cheska Tana. Tana.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. Hebrews 10:17. Obey your leaders and submit to them, for they are keeping watch over your souls as those who will have to give an account. Let them do this with joy and not with groaning, for that would be of no advantage to you.
Okay. And then Mia dayon sa 1 Peter.
1 Peter 2:13-14. For the Lord's sake, submit to all human authority, whether the king as head of state or the officials he has appointed.
Yeah, so kana siya no, we are to obey government leaders, teachers, employers, those human authority. This is God established authorities over us ha. So aside sa government leaders, teachers, employers, we also have our favorite parents. So Exodus 20:12, no, part teaches the Ten Commandments. Honor your father and your mother so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you. And gibalik po na siya sa New Testament in Ephesians 6:1-2. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and your mother, which is the first commandment with a promise, so that it may go well with you and that you may enjoy long life here on earth. And napoy other verses here in Proverbs. Can I ask Atelani to read Proverbs 30:17 and then Cheska Bugsangit dayon sa last no Proverbs.
Proverbs 30:17. The eye that mocks a father and despises a mother's instructions will be plucked out by ravens of the valley and eaten by vultures.
Oh, grabe, di pa.
Proverbs 20:20. If you insult your father or mother, your light will be snuffed out in total darkness.
So, grabe na agid di ay consequences if we neglect kani siya nga teaching. So, I have another question. Why is it hard to submit to authority? Kay, pero man tagin ingnan no nga should submit to authority. But the next question is, why is it so hard? Okay, so I also want to ask for your say tawag ani ay? For your responses. Oo, padali lang. Ako na po, I have to copy the link. Sige, so, muna siya ang link for the question. Why is it hard to submit to authority? Wait, ay, wala na ka-share screen. I'm so sorry, guys. Okay, so why is it hard? Okay, di rin ako i-ano. big na screen. Kita naman ninyo, right? Okay, so it's because of pride. Because lahi ang ato ang desire, no? Kinatay own ato ang desire. Are the pleasures. Because so why is it hard for us to submit to authority? So injustice. Yeah, injustice or na makita nga unjust siya nga leader, dili siya worthy sa atong obedience and submission or unfit o dili siya bagay maging leader ngano leader man siya nato, di ba? So kana siya. So it is hard. So daghan kay mga inputs coming, no? So klaro gyud it's hard gyud ay to submit to authority. So it is hard. It is hard because it gives us the feeling that we are not in charge. So asa man ani nga insight ninyo na mufit ani, it gives us the feeling that we are not in charge. Probably desire, pride, kana dako kayo, pride, no? And we think na it's also time and effort consuming. Makuha ng atong time to do our thing, what we want to do. So muna the desire nato. We feel na it's annoying lagi kay lahi ang atong gusto buhaton, di ba? It's opposite of what we want to do. Di ba? So mo gina siya klaro jud kayo, no? Okay. Wait, thank you kayo guys sa inyong mga input. Okay. Then for my next, asa to? Nakoy next na po, where's the chat? Sorry guys. Where's my chat box? Okay, and then also, when someone tells us what to do, the issue is not the what, unsay gisugo, but sometimes the issue is who, kinsay nagsugo, di ba? So, nako ipakita. Wait lang. Let me go back sa akong slide. Okay. And sometimes, kani ba nga question, why is it so hard for you to submit to authority nga di ba naatay gi-read nga verses kaganina nga naay consequence when we do not submit to authority. Ang pinakaklaro is when we don't submit to government authority, naagi punishment na ay consequence nga appeal ana, di ba? So I'm not sure if familiar mo ni Republic Act 11313, Safe Spaces Act. So nado siya full respect for human rights. So men and women must have equality, security, and safety not only in private but also on streets, public spaces, online workplaces, and educational and training institutions. So, kaya siya, aside nga mag-disobey ta sa ila, sometimes magud kay, di ba, ma-itch ta. We want to post our feelings, we want to rant on social media, and kana siya, it just goes to show ba nga, it's hard to submit to authority and we want people na makiramay and mo agree with us, and we post that on social media. So ma-careful ta because of kaning Republic Act, we can be put to prison for it. Pero actually dili po siya prison first. First offense is 1,000 pesos or community service of 12 hours. Second offense 3,000, third offense 10,000. So wa jud ko nagbuot-buot ani siya. Ang akong source is the I forgot na sa pcw.gov. But this is the government nga source siya. And example, ani, I'm not sure kung familiar mo, ani. This guy, May 5, 2020, na siya gi-post sa Twitter. I will give 50 million reward kung sino makakapatay kay Duterte. Ang iyang hugot ato kay no to ABS-CBN shutdown. So on May 12, 2020, he was arrested by the NBI. Okay. Yeah. At so, nakita ang iyang rebellion, he doesn't want to submit to authority, nag-rant siya. And even to a point, ingon siya nga, gusto niya nga, naay mo patay ka Duterte. So, it posed as a threat, no? So, kana siya, scary kaayo, di ba? So, let us really be careful, Jud, sa on how we use our influence, our freedom of speech sa social media. Because in the end, dili man gyud ta totally, absolutely free, di ba? Okay, there are consequences to every act and decision nga to make. And ako tong balikon sa akong iuna, why is it hard to submit to authority aside sa atong nga mga consequence nga grabe ka scary? Yeah, natay personal issues and kani siya, when someone tells you what to do, the issue is not what but who. So I'm talking, kita mo na nga who, no? I'm talking about our parents. Our parents. Kay mo man ang pinaka that is the God-given authority nga gi-institute for us children. And based sa atong mga inputs, no, God and parents, sila ang pinakadaghan ng input. Who is in charge over us? Who is in authority? So for our parents, we see them every day. And sometimes, we don't like what we see. Diba? Katoy ta, unfit siya, maging mama or papa na to, or unjust siya, or mayroon kayo siyang magstorya, pero ang yung action kay bad example, and all they do is talk, puro lang sugo, or whatever reasons you may have that caused you to have a hard time listening and obeying to them. But don't you know nga, even those in charge, our parents, they have a God-given command. So, Jen, pwede na ko ipabasa, Jen, kani command for the parents. Ephesians 6:4. I-unmute, Jen, please. Jen? Ada na.
Fathers, do not separate your
Exasperate.
children.
Mhm.
Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. Ephesians 6, verse 4. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. So what does it mean nga exasperate? So to make someone very angry or ma-annoy. So fathers, do not exasperate your children. Also, even the bosses, leaders na to, government officials, na apod sila command given from the Lord. Atong i-ask si Joseph to read Ephesians 6:9. Joseph Mendaros. You can unmute yourself.
And master, treat your slaves in the same way. Do not threaten them, since you know that he who is both their master and yours is in heaven, and there is no favoritism with him. Ephesians 6, verse 9.
Thank you, Joseph, no? So, masters, treat yourselves in the same way. So, dili po sila i-threaten since ang master sa master is si God. So, kani po rin, Proverbs 16:12. It is an abomination for kings to commit wicked acts, for a throne is established on righteousness. So yes, they will be accountable to God for what they do. Pero, dili na to siya excuse, di ba? Bad example man siya, so dili ko mag-obey sa iya. Because each of us, kita man individually, we are to give account to what we do without excuses. May lugar si Lord nga, ano, wala ka nag-obey sa imong parents? Wala ko nag-obey, Lord, kay unfit man siya para sa akong obedience. O, di ba? But unsa man ang command ni God? We are to obey our parents. Yes. And so, with regards sa atong motive, nothing can be hidden from God's sight, even ang ato ang motive sa atong heart. Okay, sometimes, most of the time, ang atong issue nga di ka mag-obey is our pride man and katong our own selfish desires. And everything in Hebrews 4:13, everything will be uncovered and laid bare before the eyes of God, to whom we must give an account. So we are accountable to God sa tanan nato decisions and tanan nato buhaton. So, napudlain nga question. How about kung okay, if you rebel against authority, then you are rebelling against God. So, di ba, grabe gid ni siya ka-heavy. So, if we disobey our parents, it also goes to show na we are disobeying God. And imo na ko i-question, how about lugar tay katong mga people in authority nga ingnon ka nga mag-sin against God or do bad things, di ba? So when authority tells us to sin or do things against God, atong tan-awon ang biblical examples. Okay? So sa Old Testament, let's look at the life of Daniel. So Tep, pakibasa ko Tep, who is Daniel in Daniel 1 verse 4 to 5? Stephen.
Activate si Stephen kay nagsakit yung mata ni sulod siya sa CR iyang gikuan.
Okay ra gyud, Michael.
Ako basa ako na.
Sure.
Kani. Sige. Daniel 1 4 to 5. Young men without any physical defect, handsome, showing aptitude for every kind of learning, well informed, quick to understand, and qualified to serve in the king's palace. He was to teach them the language and literature of the Babylonians. The king assigned them a daily amount of food and wine from the king's table. They were to be trained for 3 years, and after that, they were to enter the king's service.
So they were prisoners from the Babylonians. Pero gipili sila. So they are young men, guwapo, bright, o di ba na nasa iyatanan. So gigroom sila para sa service to the king. So gi-assign sila. Para at least natay background ka Daniel. Tapos what happened? Mandayon. Daniel resolved not to defile himself with the royal food and wine nga ginaserve sa ilaa. And he asked the chief official for permission not to defile himself this way. Now God had caused the official to show favor and compassion to Daniel. So, mo ni siya ang iyang issue. Ngano dili man siya gusto mukaon sa food and wine nga gihatag, giserve sa ilaa? Why? Because naay food nga ginakaon sa Babylonians na bawal sa iyaa as a Jewish. And ang king's food is usually meat sacrificed to gods, other gods. So labag siya sa iyaang konsensya. Daniel did not want any participation to pagan feast because it is a form of idolatry. So makasin siya against God if he does it. And take note, giunsa niya pag not obey sa authority. Ano ba siya, nag-placard ba siya nga no to royal food and wine? Wala, di ba? He asked permission. So amazing kaayo nga. He did it in a respectful manner. So nag-ask siya permission, and tungod ana, God caused the official nga nisugot ra pod. So dili din siya nagikan trivia, mo ni siya gikan ang Daniel fast nga nagkaon lang siya og vegetable, and nagkaon siya og vegetable niya. Kung i-compare siya with the other prisoners nga nagkaon og meat ug wine, mas healthy siya and mas tsada daw yung skin. O, diba? So, mao na siya. And mo ni siya ang example when authority tells us to do things against God. So how about in the New Testament, the apostles, Peter and the apostles in Acts 5. So can I ask si Mark Kabagnot to read Acts 5. Kani duha ka bullet, Mark.
Hello?
Yes.
I
can hear you.
Okay. The apostles were brought in and made to appear before the Sanhedrin to be questioned by the high priest. We gave you strict orders not to teach in this name, he said. Yet you have filled Jerusalem with your teaching and are determined to make us guilty of this man's blood. Peter and the other apostles replied, we must obey God rather than human beings. The apostles left the Sanhedrin rejoicing because they had been counted worthy of suffering disgrace for the name. Day after day, in the temple courts and from house to house, they never stopped teaching and proclaiming the good news that Jesus is the Messiah.
Yes. So, naging bold sila in saying ba na we must obey God rather than human beings. More na ilang ginaingon. And then when they left, nagpadayon sila. They did not stop teaching and proclaiming the good news. Wala sila nag-ingon sa other people nga, huy, grabe kay mga Sanhedrin kay kanang kami ang gina-blame sa blood sa tao because nag-listen sila sa amo. Wala sila nag-spread og mga sana negative things to the Sanhedrin, which is pwede biya gyud, daghan biya gyud sila reason to do it, but then wala sila nag-focus ana, nag-focus sila on continuing the spreading of the gospel. And also kanang sa book of Romans, katong we are to submit to authority, katong gi-read earlier in Romans 13, kinsa nag-write sa book of Romans? Yes, si Paul. Si Apostle Paul. And, di ba, nayon siya nga, we are subject to governing authorities. So, kinsa man ang, ato nga time, person in the government ato nga time? Si Nero. Kailan mo ni Nero? Who was Nero ato nga time?
Emperor of Rome.
Yes, he was the Emperor of Rome. Wala rin ako siya nabutang diri. And si Nero, sa tanaw ninyo, sa iyang ngalan, bad siya nga emperor or good siya to Christians?
Bad, gisunog.
Yes, so naa siya gisunog because he wants to rebuild it, and then ang iyang gi-blame kay ang mga Christians ang nagsunog adto. And he persecuted Christians. But then grabe no, ang gingon gyapon ni Paul is we are to submit to authority. And it's very hard for him to say ato nga time kay si Nero ang number one na nag-persecute yun sa iya. So, no? Grabe ang mga examples. But, kanina siya, as long as the law of the land does not contradict the law of God, then we are to obey and to submit. So, katong mga examples ka Daniel, kang Peter and the apostles, and kang Apostle Paul, it's a great reminder no for us to obey God even when authority tells us otherwise. But that's not always the case, di ba? Kinsay naka-experience ani nga treatment, na persecution. Okay, you have to do again the heart check. Kay basin magamit na po na nimo nga excuse na gipabuhat ka og something to sin against God. Okay, somehow usually ang mga rules and commands na gihatag sa ato people in authority are for our own good ba, right? So let's always check our motive, and may this be our life verse no as we submit to authority. Colossians 3:23-25. Now whatever we do, we will work at it with all our hearts, as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. Anyone who does wrong will be repaid for their wrongs, and there is no favoritism. Sa kay miss out magud ni si 25. So ako gyud siyang gi-join no. Now we are really accountable sa tanan nato decision ay pangbuhat. Decision to obey, to submit, and decision to disobey. So in everything that we will do, may it be na in our mind we are working for the Lord, not for human masters, human authorities. So having that said, no, na ako i-share nga tips on joyfully obeying authority. So, kani for us, because we have to obey authority man. So, let us be joyful na noon in obeying authority. So, first step na ko i-share sa inyo, guys, is to know your why. Why am I obeying my parents? So, kamo, why? Ano mag-obey mo sa inyong parents? Because, hopefully, pwede nyo i-chat sa chat box para mabawaan ako yung mga inputs, no? So, why? Why man ka gusto mag-obey sa imong parents? Because you want to please God, and siguro kung ako pangutanan ani, why should I obey my parents? I want to please God, gusto ko nga walay gubot, gusto ko mahuman na dayon kay mabalik-balik jud na siya kung dili pa buhaton, fear o kasab-an pud kung mag disobey, di ba? And kung kasab-an kay medyo dugay ra ba gyud kaayo nga maulian. Yan na. So know your whys. Number 2, you also think of benefits. Think of benefits in obeying, because reality nagi benefits kung mag-obey. So i-chat na po ninyo, what are some benefits na inyong kakakuha kung mag-obey mo, specifically sa inyong parents? If mag-obey, allowance, grabe, ay i-release ang allowance, or magluto og lami si nanay, o di ba? So walay no nagging, dili kasab-an, good mood. So kung unsay mong gusto mahitabo or unsay mong gusto buhaton kay okay per me. Di ba? And also when you obey, naapoy sense of responsibility. Naapod kay ma-develop nga skill kung ikaw suguon maglaba, maghugas plato, magluto, o di ba? So, na-gyud di ay benefits of obey when you obey, right? And number 3 kani, when you are in the middle of a task, you can explain nicely. Pwede na gyud ka mag-explain. So example, pwede ka mag-ingon nga, example na igisugo lugar sa imuha nga. Oy kanang okay, na paghugas sa plato. And then naa ka sa imong room, kadali lang sa kay kamulo kami og klase. Yeah, diba? Or example kanang ali sa kay na ako if kanang I need your help with something, mag-ana lugar. Mag-ana ang imo ang parent. Yeah. You're in the middle of a game. So pwede mo explain nga, mga kadali lang, one game lang sa ako sa naihuman kay dili ra ba ni ma-pause or dili ma-replay, mapildi akong team, di ba? So kana we can really explain nicely para masabtan pud nila what we're doing na we're in the middle of something. So kana siya, pwede na jud kayo mag-explain. Dili nga kanang padabog nga pag-explain. Kay para pud they can also understand your side. Kani siya bago ra pud na ko ni siya na-learn nga if na online game, dili gid siya ma-pause. Di ba? Dili ka maka-pause and mapildi ang imong team if may inactive ka sa imong game. And kanisa number 2 ba, going back to number 2, think of the benefits in obeying. The greatest benefit in obeying is, katotong na-read ka ganina, no, sa Ephesians 6, na when we obey. And then lastly is, you pray. You pray, you ask God to give you the grace to obey all authority joyfully. And you also pray na you will live each day glorifying God by obeying Him and the God-given authorities na yan i-place over you. So, kana siya, you have to pray jud kay dili all the time joyful gid mag-obey, right? I think maka-relate ang tanan ana.